Accounting, paper, and murder. Welcome back to Sound the Siren. I'm Xavier.
And this is Dylan again, fresh off last week. So today we are doing the top 10 power forwards. I've got a better mic, I'm ready to roll. I think this week the lists will be extremely different to yours, Dave. I've got some surprise appearances. I think you will too.
Yeah, I think this one, out of all 5 positions, I think this is the one I'm least confident with. I think I might cop a bit of abuse if a few people see this one.
Anything else to say? If not, I say we just get straight into it.
I can get straight into it. You go first, Dylan.
Alright. So I've got a couple honourable mentions here. I've got Kevin Love. The Cavs last in East. It's a very young team, so they are struggling. He's definitely fallen off himself. He's 31, regressing, but he is the leader they need. I've got Julius Randle. I think he was a bit better at New Orleans. I've got Aaron Gordon, Draymond Green, and Al Horford.
My honourable mentions, I've got Paul Millsap, Julius Randle, Larry Markkinen. I think Larry Markkinen had a good season last year, but he hasn't improved at all. Robert Covington. And my biggest one, which I think this is where I think most people are going to abuse my list for, John Collins. I don't quite have him there yet. His team isn't winning yet, and the people above him have already proven themselves for multiple seasons or accomplished something in their career.
And just on Chicago, before we get into it, do you think Markkinen, his development is stunted due to Wendell Carter, Zach LaVine?
I reckon they can all play together, but I think the whole Chicago Bulls franchise is in a bit of a mess at the moment, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Everyone.
The coach especially, he's had heavy criticism on him. Needs to go, you think?
Yeah, all of the players don't seem to be enjoying him, so... Zach LaVine doesn't seem invested or anything. I reckon he needs to go immediately.
I'll just get straight into my number 10. I've got Jonathan Isaac. He could be a small forward, but I think is a power forward. Him and Aaron Gordon switch up. They're both primary power forward, small forward, whatever they want, really. But the Magic, they are 8th in the East, 30-35. Same as last week. I do wish he played for someone else. He himself, he averages 12-7, 1.5 steals, 2.5 blocks. I think he's a young prospect with a huge potential. And I've got some stats here. So, in Orlando's contest against Dallas earlier this season against Kristaps Porzingis, Jonathan Isaac joined Hakeem and Ralph Sampson as the only player to record at least 13 points, 10 rebounds, 6 blocks, 5 assists, and 4 steals in the game. So, he's a versatile forward, and he's arguably the best individual defender at that position.
I agree. I love Jonathan Isaac, one of my favourite players. I thought that he was going to win, or he was leading the Defensive Player of the Year race before he got injured. But I view him as more of a small forward, so I don't have him on my list.
Okay, yeah.
My number 10, Draymond Green. 8 points, 6.2 rebounds, 6.2 assists, almost a block a game, and 2.5 steals a game. I think his impact is so much more than just his stats, though. He's a winner. He's a winner. Got a winning mentality. His stats are actually matching up against his career. He's down a little bit on rebounds, but he's up on blocks, up on assists, and up on steals. 2.5 steals is elite for a power forward, and I think his playmaking ability at the 4 spot is just elite.
And I think
he does. He does so much for that Warriors team.
Sorry,
definitely a vital cog. You go.
I think Draymond, he needs good players around him to be, that one. When he had Durant, Steph, Clay, he was just huge. He was really just the heart of that team. And although I'm not a big fan of his temper, he can really just, tear the game apart for the opposition and just turn the whole game around.
I think one of his biggest criticisms has been his 3-point shooting ability, but I don't view him as a bad shooter. I view him as more of a streaky shooter. He can get hot when he can sometimes get hot, like in the game 7 where he dropped.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yep.
Yeah.
And since then, he's just kind of been fluctuating, I guess you could say. So my number 9, Jaren Jackson Jr. Extremely underrated. And Memphis, I think they're surprising us all. Ja Morant, obviously, my rookie of the year, just because Zion hasn't played enough games. Jaren's averaging 17, 5, 1.5 blocks. And over his career, he's got a 3-point percentage of 48.5. He's a killer shooter. Everything you could ask for. Love his versatility. I remember a game against Milwaukee early this year. He nailed about 7 threes in a row in the space of about 5 game minutes or something like that. He was just on fire. And his shot release, it has received criticism, but, it works. So why change it?
I think he would be an honourable mention for me as well. I did forget about him, but I still wouldn't have him in my top 10.
Okay.
My number 9 is Kevin Love. I think he's good at stretching the floor from the four, averaging 17.6 points, 9.8 rebounds, 3.2 assists. Good player, getting old and getting worse, but
getting old. He's definitely changed from his Minnesota days. I remember that rebounding back in the day was just unbelievable to say.
As you said, though, it's hard to put him up higher on this list when his team isn't winning. So
yeah, exactly. Number 8, Blake Griffin. He's on an average Detroit side, 20-46 record, and he's regressing. As I said last week about Andre Drummond, I think he's wasting his years at Detroit. However, injuries have got the better of him. They've held him back. But this year, in 18 games, he averaged a mere 15 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists on 35% field goal percentage and 24% three-point percentage. But based off of previous years, I think he just has to be on the list.
My number 8, Tobias Harris. I think some people might have him in the small forward category. He's playing small forward this year with the addition of Al Horford, but I think previously he played power forward. 19.4 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Good player. I think I'd like to see him evolve more into the Philly closer, see him get the ball at the end of games as he's the scorer. But, yeah, number 8, Tobias Harris. He's the scorer.
Things to say about Tobias. I did have him as a small forward, but I don't know if I'd have him on the list. Like, he's got great potential. A couple games this year, Ben and Embiid weren't playing. 30 points multiple times. So I think I said this last week. They just need to sort out what they're going to do with that side. They just don't know if they complement each other.
I think the whole team sort of needs to gel together a lot better than they have been this year.
100%, especially on the road. I don't know what the woes are there.
I might be able to look that up, but we'll carry on for now.
Their road record. So you were looking for?
Yeah.
Yeah. Last week I said it. They are 10-24 on the road.
Yeah, that's just horrible.
Yeah, and when they lose to teams like Orlando, who they're just better with. I just remember that game. Better than, sorry.
Yeah.
Just teams they should be beating. Atlanta. So on. Number 7, LaMarcus Aldridge. The Spurs, they are 12th in the West, and they're finally at the rebuild stage. Everyone was waiting for it. LaMarcus is still averaging good numbers, 19, 7.5 rebounds, 1.6 blocks, and his three-point percentage is just about 39%. So he's definitely regressing, but he's still putting up solid numbers. And this is the first time the Spurs have been mentioned on the podcast. So while we're on them, what's your opinion on the young guys? DeJounte Murray, Derek White?
I think I was talking to you just before about Derek White. He played amazingly in the playoffs last year, and then he got into the Team USA team, but I think he got cut from that, if I'm not mistaken. But I thought he was going to be better this year. He didn't quite live up to my expectations. DeJounte Murray, one of my favourite players in the league. I love DeJounte Murray. I think his defense at the one spot is elite. His length and size is good. I think he's going to be a star in the future. But obviously he's been set back by injury as well, with his ACL injury just last year.
Yeah,
I would have liked to see the Spurs team last year with DeJounte Murray in it. I think they could have gone a lot further.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. DeJounte, young prospect, he's just got so much potential. I've said that a couple times already, but he's one to watch. I will say that. Your number 7, save.
My number 7, also LaMarcus Aldridge, for pretty much the same reasons. His 19 points and a block and a half is really good. Also, that 7.5 rebounds. He was an all-star just last year, and still a big piece of that Spurs team, but as you said, he's regressing and getting worse. Probably won't be on this list next year. No offense, Lamar, if you're watching this.
I think that'll be. This is one of the only ones we'll have the same until top 3. I think because my number 6. Don't know if you rate him or not. He's very underrated. Domantas Sabonis, 5th in the East, Indiana, and he's averaging 18.5 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists through big man. But I was looking up these stats, and he's had a major decrease in shooting percent. I think maybe because he's shooting more, but last year he was .529, and this year he's .254. That's from the 3-point line. However, he is only 24 years old, so he's definitely getting better. And while we're on Indiana, I think they won that trade with Oklahoma City, Paul George, Oladipo, and Sabonis for Paul George. Do you think? What's your opinion on that?
At the time, it seemed like not such a good trade, but obviously now it's very good. Paul George has already left the Thunder, and Sabonis and Oladipo have both had All-Star years, so I would agree.
Yeah, well, Sabonis, first All-Star appearance this year, and he came second in the skills challenge behind Bam. And I got a fun fact here. He's the second Lithuanian player to be an All-Star behind Zydrunas Ilgauskas. That's a mouthful, but yeah, so he's definitely one to watch as well.
My number 6. Now, Dylan, you said
Yes.
you said we wouldn't have so many the same from here on, but my number 6 is Domantas Sabonis.
Oh, there you go.
18.5 points, 12 rebounds, having a really good year, All-Star this year. Love to see the Pacers. If Oladipo can get back to it, that'll be a good team. So
yeah, I agree with that. Number 5, I know you didn't have him. I've got John Collins. Even though they have a bad record, his potential and their potential as a whole is unreal. 22 points, 10 rebounds, 1.5 blocks, and he's only 22, which is just unbelievable. And he still has room to improve on his post moves, but he's continuing to take smart shots without forcing anything. He's been a force on the offensive boards. He's averaging 1.6 putbacks per game. He's making just about 65% of them, and his shooting's just gotten much better. His 3-point percentage on the season is 37%, which may not seem well, but he had a very slow start, and he's just progressing with that.
I love John Collins. I know it's probably gonna seem like hate, but I do really like it. He's so talented on the offensive end. His defense hasn't quite come along yet, but I'm interested to see how him and Capella are going to work together. And
him and Capella. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say their length and mobility. They just allow them to be a nuisance to opposing offenses.
Yeah. My number 5, Blake Griffin. Now I think I've got him a lot higher than you.
Ooh, yeah.
Only the 15 points, 5 rebounds, but last year he averaged 24.5 points, 7.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, half a block, and 0.7 steals. Now, he has been riddled with injury, but I love the way he's been able to change his game from being that athletic dunker and finisher to now being a bit of a stretch four. He shoots a lot of threes now compared to back in the day. But
I'm not going to lie.
Last year, he all NBA and had a really good season last year. So
I think I'm going to disagree with you. I used to love watching his Lob City days, and I think it's kind of a shame that he's had to change. I know he has had to change for a reason, but he was good last year. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I do think he was better at the Clippers, but now, obviously now he won't be able to do his dunks, and his athleticism has somewhat diminished because of his injuries, but his ability to change his game to stay just still an all-star level player. He was, as I said, all-NBA last year.
I actually forgot that, yeah. See, cities like Detroit Orlando, I guess you kind of just forget about them because, they were the 8th seed. They're not really talked about. Same with Orlando being the 7th seed last year.
I think they lost to the Bucks bad in the playoffs. They got swept.
Yeah, they did. Swept.
I think Blake was also not so well in that series. He had the big bandage on his knee. And,
Yep.
Yeah.
Number 4, the Latvian unicorn, Kristaps Porzingis. I think he's an unbelievable mix with Luka. I think they should be higher than 7th, though. Just the players that kind of complement them as well, like Jalen Brunson, who I really like to watch. Dwight Powell, just another big man. He's averaging 19 points, 9.5 rebounds, 2 blocks, but he has been inefficient with his shooting. He's 42% from the field compared to 45 and 43% in previous seasons. And his 3-point percentage is just 34. As well as that, he's averaging 3 fouls. So he just needs to watch that. But I think if he didn't have his injury, he'd be top 3 without a doubt. Maybe even top 2.
My number 4, Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
Kristaps Porzingis.
Hey, there we go.
19.2 points, 10 rebounds. He's one of the probably 3 players in the league that can average 20 points and 2 assists, 2 blocks, along with Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid. But I genuinely think he is a generational talent, and despite the people above him being better at the moment and some significantly better, I could see him being the best power forward in the league at some stage in his career. Just his last healthy season, almost 23 points, 2.5 blocks. His rebounding has got a lot better since he came back. For a 7'3" person in his last healthy year, only averaging 6.5 rebounds, but that's gone up to 2.5. So
what
were the absolute star?
What were the Knicks thinking with that trade?
I think maybe they thought he was going to leave at the end of the season anyway. But I don't know. I would have tried to convince him to stay. I think he's that good of a player that I would have kept him at all costs.
But even if you trade him, you don't just trade him for Dennis Smith, who I think they should play, by the way. I don't understand why he's not really getting minutes. I just think they should have, asked for a couple other players, maybe some young prospects, even a draft pick or 2. Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit weird, but, New York, they have been struggling in recent decades. So
I did see a photo on Instagram just after Porzingis got traded last year. It was a Knicks jersey with cap space written on the back of it. So,
and even then, in this off season, they just they went for Kevin Durant and Zion, and they got Julius Randle, who I don't mind, but
promised the future of Zion, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant, and they end up with Taj Gibson, Kevin Knox, and Julius Randle. Not quite fulfilling their expectations.
And they didn't want to offer Durant a max, which is astounding to me.
Yeah, but, because of his injury. So stupid.
I know. He'll come back strong for Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And you said Kevin Knox. I think he should be a little bit better than what he is right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's still got some potential, but hasn't been as good as you would have hoped as a Knicks fan. Knicks fans would have been hoping he was the next LeBron James, since that's 100%. The only thing that seems to be able to rescue their franchise.
No, let's hope they can be successful in the coming years. Number 3, Pascal Siakam. Toronto, unbelievable this year, 46 and 18. Some people said that they'd struggle to make the playoffs, and Siakam's just come in. He's averaged 23.5 points, 7.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 1 steal and block. And, he has a chance of becoming the first player in history to win the Most Improved Player award twice in back-to-back years. He's just been extraordinary. And his scoring average is up nearly 9 points from last year. So, all of his stats are soaring.
My number 3, Dylan, Pascal Siakam. All the same reasons. I love Spicy Pete. He's an absolute star, I reckon. He's gone up every year since he's been in the league in points. He started at 4.2 up to 7.3. Then he took the big jump last year to 16.9 and another big jump this year to 23.6. He can rebound the ball, get assists, as you said, a block and a steal a game. he doesn't really need the ball that much to score. Athletic, gets out on the break. I reckon he fits well. And as you said, yeah, a lot of people didn't even have Toronto making the playoffs, but he stepped up for them big this year.
And I think Toronto just taken on some of Kawhi's mentoring skills. You know, they've all stepped up. Norman Powell, great shooter. Fred VanVleet, who I've always liked. Obviously, they've got Marc Gasol, who's a veteran, but he is definitely a mentor. So I think these last two will be pretty similar as well. My number 2, Anthony Davis, first in the West. 27 points, 9.5 blocks. 9.5 rebounds, 2.5 blocks, and a steal. I don't know what else you want me to say, really. Favourite for Depoy, I think. And he's playing through a shoulder injury as well, which just makes the stats even more impressive. 6 times All-Star, but he is shooting 47% from the floor and 25% from 3-point range, from the 3-point line. So lower than his last few seasons, but leads the NBA in blocks. Been an absolute terror on that end of the floor. But it is impacting his offensive efficiency. My
number 2, obviously, Anthony Davis. I think he has, just on the 3-point percentage, I think he's been given more of a green light this year to shoot from 3, because when he's on the court and when he's playing the 5, he can stretch the court, bring their centers out to defend him on the 3-point line, but also bang inside. Yeah, the almost averaging a double-double, 2.5 blocks and 1.5 steals. My defensive player of the year. Is a outstanding season and playing on a winning team. So, what can you really ask for?
When you have a team that could probably be an all-defensive team if they were all in their prime, you know, Rondo, Bradley, JaVale, LeBron, and AD, I don't know what the other team is going to do against it. And Dwight, and Dwight.
4-time defensive player of the year.
Former Depoy, and then they've got Alex Caruso, who's going to be the MVP in a couple of years. You know,
the GOAT and a few more.
Number 1, I don't even think I need to say who it is, but Giannis Antetokounmpo, best record in the league, leading MVP candidate, along with LeBron. Still needs to work on his jumper, but it has improved, and he's only 24, which is, you know, he'll be a franchise player. He averages nearly 30, 14 rebounds, almost 6 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 30% 3-point field goal. 7-footer, almost. You can run any position, creates, facilitates, but I'm guessing he's your number 1 too.
Yeah, my number 1, obviously, Giannis. He's one of my favourite players in the league. Almost averaging 30 points, 14 rebounds is ridiculous. He's so athletic, so tall, just the absolute freak of the league. Greek freak of the league, if you will. But I also love Giannis off the court. I reckon he's one of the funniest players in the league. Just like at the ceremony thing at the end of last year when he said he was only at 60%, but that was funny. And then his interview after that, his follow-up interview a few months into the season, they said, earlier in the year, you said, only at 60%. What are you now? He said, he replied with probably around 69%. I reckon that was hilarious. That was one of the funniest things I've ever. But,
the only thing,
69%, bro. He's funny.
The only thing with Giannis is he is turnover prone and foul prone for stretches, but you know he's developing physically. He needs significantly more muscle mass, considering his penetration style into the key. Sometimes gets over intense with his temper, draws unnecessary technical fouls, but he's scary to watch, to play against. He's a brick wall.
Yeah, I don't think there's much that we can say about Giannis that hasn't been said. Just a star.
Anything else you want to ask about power forwards? Hit me with a question, I'll answer it.
Out of all of the players on your list, Dylan, who do you reckon can shoot the best? Who's the best stretch four in the league right now?
I was about to say Kristaps, but Jaren Jackson. I think.
I would probably stick with Kristaps, the unicorn. 7'3" and can shoot.
True. He's deadly. Yeah,
Pretty much all of his shots are going.
He was
Pretty
a bit
much all of his
inconsistent here.
Yeah.
Sorry, you go.
Pretty much all of his shots are going to be open because even if you get to them and you can test them well, his 7'3" is just going to shoot straight over you.
Yeah, I know. Unless you have Taco Fall, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bobo.
Boban.
Boban, true. Boban's
Yeah.
I actually like Boban as a player. I think he's
I
if he's
reckon
given game time, he could be
Yeah,
big
no,
impact.
no meme. I reckon he's actually a good player. He's not quite a star, but I reckon he's really good. In the playoffs last year, when they rested Joel Embiid, he was actually a big impact player. I remember there was one game. I can't remember which one it was, but he was actually dominating, and Shaq was having a big laugh on the sideline.
I was actually watching highlights of that series the other day. He just kept shooting mid-ranges from the elbow, and he was just reliable. And he had a game just before the hiatus, obviously. He had a game with 30 points. 30 points, 15 rebounds.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. If we could do that even on a somewhat consistent basis, just like once a month, he'd still be a star.
Well, he's definitely shown signs, but he is 32 this year, so he's getting up there in age. I wish he was given a little bit of potential, but yeah. Anything else, Dave?
That's all from me, Dylan.
That's all from you. All right. Well, thank you for listening to the second episode of Sound the Siren. Next week, obviously, small forwards. I think I know who Dave might have as his number one already. But we'll have to wait until. But okay, I was just about to say we'll have to wait.
We don't have to wait for anything. We all know who's the GOAT.
All right. While we're on that, who's your MVP for this year?
For this year, see, this is a tough question. I've got Giannis winning, but it's a lot closer than other people think. And if the season wasn't suspended and we played a full regular season, I genuinely think LeBron would have won. He was coming at the end of the season. He was coming with, or before the season got suspended, he was coming with some force and beat the Clippers and then the Bucks. We had the visual of Kuzma putting the crown on his head.
And I think LeBron's mentality changed obviously after the tragedy of Kobe's death, which is extremely sad. And I know he wanted to bring a championship to LA. It's been 10 years since the last one, so if it does come back and he is able to do that, they will just love him forever. You know, if he gets another ring or two, he might be the GOAT.
There was another photo I saw of LeBron. It was, his classic one after the Cleveland victory where he said, Cleveland, this is for you. There was one I saw. Could you imagine LeBron winning the title and finals MVP, picking up the trophy and saying, Kobe, this is for you? That would be pretty good.
Oh, yeah. You can't really hate him if he does that. I mean, I don't understand how so many people hate him already, but that's for a different podcast, I think, Zave. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe after the last dance is finished, we can debate that one.
I know who you're rooting for. You've got all the stats there.
Yeah, I could genuinely speak on this topic for an hour. I had a friend message me the other day who was saying, I was watching The Last Dance with my dad, and he said that Jordan's a lot better than LeBron, and I don't have the stats to really back up LeBron. Can you send me some? I sent him my 6-minute English speech. I sent him some graphics of why LeBron's better and some counterpoints just in case anything else was brought up. I think definitely won that debate.
Well, somehow, Save, we always manage to get off topic. We've gone from power forwards to Boban to LeBron. But next week we will
the best players in the league.
Next week we will have a special guest, for sure. We will be doing over Zoom, I think, and we will be speaking on LeBron. We'll be doing top 10 small forwards. So until then, we will catch you next week. Goodbye.